It's time for the Pittsburgh Sports Reporters, an inside look at your teams in your city.
Welcome to the Pittsburgh Sports Reporters. It's Monday, October 14th, and we're brought to you by Nemacolin's Woodlands Resorts and the project professionals at 84 Lumber. I'm joined by Tim Benz of 105.9 The X and the Steelers Radio Network, and Stan Savran of 970 ESPN and Root Sports. Guys, Tim, the Steelers finally got off the schneid. They beat the Jets yesterday 19-6. To me, it was a very workmanlike, methodical win. If it had been the beginning of the season, this is exactly how you would have expected this game to go, especially with the rookie quarterback for the Jets. What's your big picture takeaway from the game?
There's one win. I don't have a big picture takeaway. I'm not building this up to be something where they're going to launch themselves back into playoff contention yet. Get an upset at Baltimore, and then maybe I'll start thinking that way. You know, the way I looked at that game is I tried to look at it from a different snapshot, which would have been how would we have reacted to this game if the Steelers were what we wanted them to be,
right,
which was 2-2 or 3-1. And my thought coming out of it was, you know what, we'd be taking a lot of ticked-off phone calls and answering a lot of angry emails from people saying, my God, they only beat the Jets 19-6. And perspective makes things look all the different. 0-4, you're just celebrating getting the win. I do like the fact that the defense took the ball away twice. And I do like the fact that the defense generally played well. And, I thought that offensively, there's still issues along the offensive line. Ben got hit a lot. But the defense taking the ball away was the big storyline for me.
Stan, you want to give them more than that?
I look at it as a much-needed win, but I can separate that from whether they're playing well or getting better. Takeaways, they were giveaways. The guy throws into triple coverage. It's a floater. Clark could have called a fair catch on it.
But they have dropped those in the past.
They have dropped those in the past. Luckily, Ike didn't seem to be in the area. But Clark dropped another one he should have had.
Clark did drop a second one.
And I'm not going to downplay Timmons' interception, although the game wasn't on the line, because it was forced by Jarvis Jones' hit. That's one of the reasons they don't have any takeaways, because they're not pressuring the quarterback. And I really don't want to be a naysayer because, clearly it's I think the best overall game they played, but that is not good enough. They still do not and cannot run the ball.
Stan, I thought Ben was tremendous.
He was, but Tim's he gets hit much too often, that's how he plays. He's under siege. But until they get the running game, I'm not willing to say that, they found it now, they're back on track now. No, they needed to win psychologically. Forget the mathematics of it. They really needed to win psychologically. It'll put them in a better frame of mind and stop all this ridiculous stuff about ping pong and pool in the locker room. But there are still some of the same glaring problems that exist. And to me, pass protection is one, and an inability, an incapability of running the ball.
I wanted to get to the point, to your point about ping pong, pool, and shuffleboard. Every time they get a win, they get one game back, and then maybe they'll be incentivized to the point that the locker room looks like a Dave and Buster's.
And
they'll have Pop-A-Shot,
and
they'll have Whack-A-Mole.
And if they win 2 in a row, maybe they'll get to stay up past 10 o'clock on a school night.
Tim, to Stan's point about not being able to run the ball and pass protect, one guy who I think deserves a ton of credit, who's been a whipping boy since he got here, is Todd Haley yesterday. Opened the game with, I think, maybe 5 or 6 screens out of the first 10 or so play calls to slow down that Jets pass rush. Ran a bunch of misdirection, and then, of course, the call that everybody's going to point to is the 3rd and 1, where the tight formation, the bunch formation, Manny Sanders on the right side, they go play action and hit Sanders for the 55-yard touchdown. I thought Todd Haley did a great job yesterday. It was a bad week for Todd Haley. You get sued twice. It's a bad week. But what do you think about the play calling?
Well,
and how the
I really
offense
like
was
that. That was a Bruce Arians play call. That's what Arians used to do a lot in those 2nd and short, 3rd and shorts, close to the midfield stripe. That's what he would do, and it was a good time for it. I liked it. Now, I thought he might have overdone the screens a little. I know what you were talking about, David. I saw your tweet on Twitter during the game about the trick plays and how everybody loves it when it works and hates it when it went bad. But I thought the spot of the field had a lot to do with that.
Sure, fair point.
I think it was a good time to call it when he did the first time. And by the way, does anybody else notice how Antonio Brown got better pass protection on one play than Ben Roethlisberger did the whole season prior to that? But, I thought all in all it was a pretty good day for Haley. I thought it was maybe a little overdone on the screens, but you got to do something to try to advance the ball when Roethlisberger isn't getting any time. And we're all saying, hey, it was addition by subtraction with Mike Adams. Well, maybe, but if Ben can't escape that safety that Kelvin Beachum almost allowed. Maybe we're talking about a different game.
Absolutely.
Beachum it's been a while since we've seen a 68 with a hat trick, and Kelvin Beachum gave us one with penalties.
Yeah, they said he played better later on. Well, I mean, just by staying on his feet, he was better than he was in the first quarter and a half. A couple things. I would go back to Ken Wisenhunt. I thought that was more indicative of the kind of things that he would do. Yeah. At the appropriate time. And keep something else in mind, two factors, David. Number one, the pass to Sanders was set up because they ran the ball successfully on first and second down to set up a 3rd and 1. Otherwise, if you're a defense and you cannot run the ball, why would you ever bite in a play fake? Go ahead, run the ball. You can't run. But they did manage to grind out 9 yards and 2 carries. That's what set it up, and it was a very good call. The second thing, I thought maybe the biggest play of the game was the one by Cam Hayward on the goal line where they held him to a field goal. Who knows? As fragile as they were, if the Jets score a touchdown there, who knows?
And these
are
exactly the things we've been talking about the first 4 weeks that went against the Steelers. If Redmond scores a touchdown, first drive in that game where they're up 2-0. Ben eluded that sack. That was a huge play in that game. Stan, how much is this off-the-field stuff going to jeopardize Todd Haley's job at the end of the season? I don't think they'll fire him in season, but
no, I don't think they will fire him in season. I really don't. First of all, I want to see how these suits are adjudicated. Anybody ever have a problem with someone coming to do something in your house? The lawn guy or carpenter, whatever it is. I remember that happened to Dave Parker, and there was
this was a built house for him that he apparently took stuff out of. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I would like to know the particular. That happened to Dave Parker once. Everyone said, "Oh, what a bad guy he is," and then Parker said, he ripped me off for whatever it was, $12,000. Yeah, no wonder. I was upset and whatever. I want to find out the particulars. I will say this, that the Rooneys, if it's a social issue, that sort of thing, they do not take kindly to that. I think it depends on how well the offense performs. And if they go to Tomlin and say, what about this guy? It was his choice. But I also have a feeling that it had to be approved by the Rooneys.
Tim, this stuff follows him around. I mean, it's been going on for 5 years now. This Kansas City stuff, the rat at McDonald's. I mean, maybe it's just coincidence, but it seems to me that it's now gotten to the point where it's more than that.
Well, he's to his NFL PR departments what Godzilla was to Tokyo. It's just, I imagine that Burt Lawton, the PR guy for the Steelers, just walks into Todd's office on a daily basis and says, "What do you have for me today? What should I be ready for?" It's gotten to that point. As far as whether or not he keeps his job, Dave, I really do think it comes down to more than anything else performance. If it's arrow up and they salvage the season and somehow they wind up in the playoffs and Roethlisberger stays clean and winds up at the Pro Bowl, then he'll still have a job. This stuff on top of it, it's kind of like we were looking at the Pirates in Steeler uniforms there for a bit, where not only were they losing, but it was Operation Shutdown and the Bratwurst beatdown in Milwaukee. The off-the-field stuff on top of the fact that they weren't playing well day after day, it became comical this past week. And now you get one win, and it's, hey, the Ravens lost. Browns lost.
So it is a must-win game next week against the Ravens. Stan, let's talk Pirates for a second. Great season all around. Now the decision-making goes on. And to me, the big and hard decision is A.J. Burnett. One, does he want to come back? But if he does, you're going to run a budget that's somewhere between $75 million this year and probably $100 million with the new TV money and the gate revenues they got with the playoffs. A.J. Burnett's going to make, I would think, $15 million on a one-year deal. What he made roughly, then that also gives you the compensatory draft pick. Do you sign A.J. Burnett? Not
at that money, and frankly, I don't think he'll get $15 million at 37.
They got to offer 14.5 to get the draft pick.
It's way too much for him. He did yeoman's work here. I'm going to approach this backwards. I want that money for either Bird or Morneau. Maybe not that much, but I'm going to work at it backwards. They say Burnett's the top priority. Not to me, he's not. Imagine a rotation without A.J. Burnett. Are they better with him? Probably. But, you've got Cole and Liriano. Wandy, all right, there's a bit of a question mark there. You got Charlie Morton. I am not giving up on Jeff Locke. He was too good in the first half. And Tyone will be here by July 1st. So are they better with Burnett? Yeah, but it's not a bad rotation. And the money could be used. You talk about the additional TV money. They got it. The question is, will they spend it?
That's the right point. It's going to be 25.
Do you want to spend $15 million on a guy who wound up as your fourth best starter at the end of the year?
Can I add one more thing? Here's what I want to find out. I want to find out why he was unavailable to pitch in Game 5?
I got an answer for you.
All right, I want to find out if he was pouting. He was at loggerheads with Hurdle all year long. Why was Liriano available, but he wasn't?
Because here's the answer: is the Pirates decided that if they could get 5 out of Garrett Cole, they would go with their bullpen that has been very good this year.
Sure.
Liriano was the emergency guy to work with them. They had AJ throw. They feel like AJ's a routine guy. They had him throw his side before the game so that he would be ready for Game 1. So that decision was made beforehand. I'm on the view that, as you said, AJ had trouble. Maybe he was your 4th best starter. He's had trouble in that park. Get his mind ready for the next one. It wasn't he was unavailable in terms of anything he'd done. The Pirates made a decision. I liked the decision, to be honest with you.
Like the decision.
I would like to know the reasons
not
behind the
have-
decision.
Have it go to him.
That's the party line. First of all, it's a moot point. I'm starting Liriano in Game 1. But be that as it may, I just wonder. I'm just putting 2 and 2 together. Maybe it adds up to 5. But I need to know that. And we'll never know. But I need to know that.
Fair enough.
If that's the case, if he was pouting, then enough already with
What
him.
I heard was, and Siraj said this, was he was upset, but he wanted the ball as a competitor,
Sure.
but was not going to sabotage the team in any way. So, Tim, AJ priority list, is he number 1 priority, or the money better spent elsewhere?
I don't think any of them are coming back, and I don't know that I'd go overboard for any of them either.
How about 1 year for Marlon Byrd, $5 to $8 million? You do that deal?
I would.
Oh, I'd do that. Yeah. Do you think he's going to stay for that little?
How can
He's
you
36 and he's got a PED thing. I don't know that anybody's going to offer him a longer term deal.
No, I don't think. I think that he and Morneau will be unpleasantly surprised at what the offers are. And Bird at that kind of price for 1 year, especially with Polanco, 2015. The problem is, you're not operating in a vacuum here. It depends on what other teams offer. I don't think it's so much a matter of dollars per year for Marlon Byrd. How many years can he squeeze out of this?
Yeah, sure.
Is someone willing to give him 3? I don't think he signs a 1 for sure.
No, I would think.
So where do you go, Tim? How you got? And
I
Clint
would go
Barnes
after-
for a couple $1 million. You bring Clint Barnes for a couple $1 million as a platoon guy.
I
Back
don't
up
think
to
so.
Jordy?
You know why I don't? Not only performance, because it's too much of a temptation for Hurdle to play him over Mercer. That's his buddy. That's his safety net. I'm sorry. I looked up the number of errors. They both played in 106 games, Mercer and Barmes. Barmes had 13 errors. Mercer had 15. Fielding average, and I realize there's more to playing shortstop than just fielding percentage, 968 to 965. Really? Is that worth 70 points in batting average differential? Somehow, we got to the point where Mercer was being portrayed as this hack. Actually, he's not.
No, I don't think
He's not
portrayed as a
Ozzie
hack.
Smith, but he's not a hack.
Oh,
Everybody's-
you don't think that, but I think people have blown out of proportion the impact of the error in the Melancon game.
Sure.
So
Right.
People,
well, then if that's the case, then don't bring
It's
Starling
kinda like,
Marte
you know
back.
what
He
it
made
is?
a bigger error.
Who are your priorities?
I go with Marlon Byrd first, but I wouldn't overdo it because even though there's not a salary cap in baseball, there is one in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
So that would be my approach. And if not, I try to use what money you don't spend on keeping these free agents to try to bring in other guys that are akin to what Russell Martin was, akin to what A.J. Burnett was at first base and right field. But just to close out the point that Stan was making about how everybody now thinks that he's the worst fielding shortstop in all time, it's the same mentality of Rashard Mendenhall fumbled all the time. Look at his numbers. No, he didn't. At least not until he started to fumble a little bit more last year.
Nor did
but-
John Dwyer.
Right. It's the impact play that people remember, and then they paint with this swath and reevaluate history. It's just not true. People remember that play and make him out to be a worse fielder.
Tim,
than
let me
what he
wrap
is.
it up here.
Fans for one thing, but the Pirates seem to be doing the same thing.
Wrap it up here. Give me one sentence or 2 sentences on the Penguins' first 5 games. Your impressions.
Taking care of business against teams that they should beat.
Yeah, that's a good one. Stan?
I love the new commitment to defense. Not so happy what happened over the weekend, but if it truly is a mindset of we've got to be better defensively and get more production from the bottom 6 forwards, off to a great
Good
start.
start.
Taking care of business against teams that they should beat is something that they haven't done early in seasons.
And the
in
Steelers
past,
haven't
too,
done it either, but they did it yesterday. That's going to wrap things up. Tim Benz from 105.9 The X, Stan Savin and David Todd from 970 ESPN. Pittsburgh Sports Reporters, brought to you by Nemacolin's Woodlands Resorts and the Project Professionals at 84 Lumber. Thanks for watching.